Welcome back. Time now for Mediaweek. And Australia's biggest publishers and broadcasters serving regional Australia have unveiled a campaign called Boomtown to make advertisers more aware of the size of the audiences they reach across the country. At a function in Sydney last night, they reminded guests that they can make their media investment work a lot harder for them by covering all of the population, just not the ones in capital cities.
Mediaweek's James Manning was at the function and spoke with Brian Gallagher, Chief Sales Officer at Southern Cross Austero, and Penny Kaleta, National Sales and Partnerships Director at Australian Community Media.
Welcome to Your Money. We're at Boomtown. Tell us about how did this all come about? Because regional broadcasters and publishers have been saying for a little while that they've been underrepresented.
Yeah, we got together, all the regional media companies, actually not so long ago, actually about August last year, and we wanted to come up with a way of really cleanly articulating that regional markets were a lost opportunity for advertisers that were not investing. And I think it's fantastic that as a group we were able to come up with a device to describe, if you like, that 8.8 million people that live there, and that device is Boomtown.
Yeah, I think it was really important for us. We realised and recognised that I think the power was us coming together and really uniting regional Australia as a channel rather than us working in the fragmented markets that we were, and we could see the power in that.
Because you compete for dollars as well, don't you? So do you want different things from advertisers, or is there quite a united sort of thing that does bind you together?
Look, I think the advertiser profile in regional markets, there's two separate camps. There is the camp of advertisers that spend exactly the right amount, and you've got companies like the major retailers, the federal government itself, of course, who are equalising their reach across metro and regional markets. And then you've got a whole bunch of companies across multiple sectors, probably described as the companies that don't have their own cash register in place, the ones that are probably significantly underinvested. As a group, we're very united, I think, in trying to get those people to change their bias.
Penny, you specialise in regional media, that's what you guys do. Do you realise the problem a bit more than maybe people like Brian who sort of trade in and out of metros as well as regional?
I do specialise in regional, but no, I think having someone like Brian who understands the regional market as much as he understands metropolitan, and actually it's a great for us to have Brian leading this committee because he is so connected to the metropolitan market, and they're the ones that we're trying to change the perception of. So I'm a regional Australia specialist, but people in regional Australia know how great they are. It's the metropolitan markets that we're really trying to change the misconceptions on.
How receptive are the agencies and the advertisers going to be? Because you use some pretty strong language. You're not sort of coming out and just hinting at these people are being overlooked. You say there's 8.8 million Australians, they're being ignored.
Well, I can't imagine a soft sell's going to get it done, mate. I think we've got to have a red hot crack. Yeah. And literally there are thousands of opportunities every day to reach consumers who are going to spend more on brands when they're advertised. We have been working so closely with agencies and strategy people within agencies and clients to try to describe what they're missing out on. We're doing that with data and with hard data, with numbers. We're able to stand in front of a client with the agency strategy team and talk about quantifying the brand share and the value of that brand share that a client is missing out on by not investing equally across the markets. We're able to redefine what good investment looks like by actually lifting market shares in areas where we can show brands that they're significantly underrepresented in market share. That's really compelling, and that's really cutting through.
8.8 million people, Penny. I mean, is the spend, can you get more for your money in regional markets? I mean, if you were spending to reach 8.8 million in metros, could you get them a lot cheaper in regional markets?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Brian just said, we've got a lot of case studies and data that actually qualifies and quantifies the reach. I mean, it really depends on audience segmentation and markets that the brands need to attract. But certainly in the trade of cost per thousand, you can absolutely get more for your money than you can in the metropolitan, because you're reaching a larger audience in some cases. And we use the example quite often that people that are in Wagga Wagga or in Griffith, they want a choice of what breakfast cereal to buy, and they want a choice of which shampoo or beauty products to use, and they're not being marketed at. So
yeah, those are people that are influenced by advertising. And I think when we look at the example of who is spending in the marketplace, it's the big retailers are definitely there, but the brands that sit behind those big retailers on the shelves, they're ticking a box when they advertise. Yes, we're on television in New South Wales, but that might be Sydney only. And so consumers in the other 5 million people or so that are living in regional New South Wales, they're not getting that message about that particular brand. And you see in the numbers that their brand share for that particular client is actually down. So we want to try and fix that up.
Is it going to be harder for the agencies to adapt to what you want from them? I mean, it's possibly not true, and you'll tell me, I guess, but you've heard things in the past, it's a bit harder to buy regional markets. I know for Southern Cross Austero, for example, you have lots of different TV signals going into lots of different markets. Does it look hard on paper?
I think that regional media has been very different to go about buying than metro media in the past, and I think that when the proliferation of digital media came into play and we had things that were controlling the conversation like socials or programmatic, it made another layer of difficulty for regional to have a voice. And I think that's exactly why we've had to come together to create a lot of noise about what we are going to offer advertisers. We and our competitors have done a lot over the course of the last few years to simplify the buying and the access to the market. In our case, we've rebranded all of our radio stations. We've provided survey data and the systems to actually be able to analyse that data to try and make it as easy as possible to buy. And I think over the next couple of years we're going to do more and more to simplify and streamline the way we can get advertisers access to those audiences.
Yeah, I think Brian's right. I think part of right now the launch of this committee in Boomtown is our priority, but moving forward it's how do we work together as a complete industry to make it easier for agencies, and same as what Brian said. So in our world, what we've now done with news media in the Australian Community Media Division is mapped TV footprints in regional Australia, so now that's much easier for people to buy from an audience perspective rather than from a masthead perspective.
Penny, Brian talked about big retailers who are out in the regional markets. Who are some of the other advertisers that sort of get regional Australia? I'm thinking maybe the government does a pretty good job out there.
Yeah, government, for us, government, absolutely. And I think that also goes because regional is trusted media in both advertising and content, so it's really great that the government support that. Some of the other big ones are obviously your vehicles and your auto industry are really, really strong. Certainly your Toyotas and Mitsubishis and your Holdens are very, very strong out in regional Australia. And yeah, as you said, retail, very strong.
Where will the money come from in budgets? I mean, have people got to spend less in metro? How will that work?
Oh, look, I think the clients have got to make a value judgment about where they're investing. I know I'd rip it out of certain platforms that, where I can see that there's some discrepancy in relation to, transparency, visibility and measurement.
We're talking digital, perhaps.
You might have said that. But, you can afford to be that pointed. I probably can't. In fact, we've got very good digital assets that actually we can measure and are transparent. But I think there are some areas where we can draw that money from. Clients are going to make a value decision about where they need to invest to get the best bang for their marketing dollar. What we need to do is put every bit of information in front of them that we can to justify our position. I mean, we're not out crying poor saying, we deserve to get the money because, for any other reason other than return on investment for these brands will be better when they invest that money with us, and we will prove that. That's going to be our opportunity.
Yeah, Penny.
And one of the primary focuses of this committee was the messaging was not to move your money from one channel, it was to purely demonstrate the opportunity that you have in this channel.
Now we're here at a launch function tonight. You've called the Boomtown's the name of the campaign. Some great sort of imaging you've got around the joint, the big flashy lights over there. But this is just the start, isn't it? How long will this go for and what other sort of stages?
Well, I think the rest of this year you'll see a presence from Boomtown. The next, I guess, the initial phase of the campaign is trade media, but also a lot of in-agency visitation, a lot of activations. We're going to be with our partners, I guess, in all the regional media companies, turning up at all the major agencies over the course of the next couple of months. We've got an exciting phase 2 in the planning, where we will reveal in coming weeks what that's all about, but that's going to be quite interactive and give some lucky client the opportunity to really win with us. I think that's going to be fun. And in the initial stages as well, we're going to give somebody the opportunity to go out and really experience some 5-star opportunities in regional markets. Probably see regional markets through a slightly different lens.
Penny, do you think there could be some short-term response, or is this really about long-term?
It's we're all in it for the long term. Definitely for long term. It's about building that awareness, making regional media a standalone channel, working together to fix all the things that we've been told from agencies and clients that makes it challenging for them to interact with us. So it's a long term play for us.
Although I think will certainly be hard to ignore over the next couple of months.
Yes.
I'm sure
noisy.
Some bright sparks will find a way of digging some money out for us.
Yeah.
And Brian, do you think, as Southern Cross Austero, and do you think any of the other members of this consortium have sort of done some numbers on what it could mean to their bottom line and how they might judge the success of what you're doing?
Actually, I don't think anybody's been out planning FY20 and sticking extra money on top of the budget because we're going to be so fabulous in relation to the campaign. We are definitely playing the long game. We are very optimistic about the impact and what it will be, but we are sensible commercially about the way we're going about it. So we know we've got quite a few opinions that we need to change. So that's going to be the job at hand for the next few months.
Yeah. Okay, great. Look, thanks for having us along tonight at the launch, and good luck with it all.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
There you go. Let's get you across the ratings. This is for week 13. We'll kick off from free to air. And the juggernaut that is Maps continues to dominate.
No surprises to see that. So it will stay there until the finale as well.
Travel Guides keeps surprising me.
Yeah, it's doing pretty
It
well.
just keeps knocking it out of the park.
Look at my kitchen rules. Just not quite.
That used to be the juggernaut, right?
Not quite taking it this year. Number 5, 7 News, 9 News. They often make that list. Let's take a look at subscription television as well. NRL, AFL, Gogglebox, Sunday Night with Matty Johns, Selling Houses Australia. Gogglebox still making it in there as well on Lifestyle.
You're more of a Sunday Night with Matty Johns person.
Yeah, love my AFL and NRL too. So sport always tops the list in that though.